everybody. I'm Dave Little, and this is In the Sulky. My guest tonight is trainer Per Engblom. Per, thanks so much for spending a couple of minutes with us on a Saturday night.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. Now, first, I want to start with a little bit of an English lesson. Sometimes names in Swedish don't sound quite like they do in English. Now, I've been calling you Per ever since I've seen your name in the program, but actually it is not pronounced Per, it is pronounced how?
Per.
All right, Per. All right, and is that a common name back in your native homeland?
It's pretty common. It's a medium name, I would say.
All right, so now also your wife, whose name by spelling, that looks like Helene, but it's not Helene, is it?
No, she's Helen.
All right, she's Helen. All right,
Yeah.
so it's not Per and Helene, it's Per and Helen. Now also your right-hand man, Casper Foget, he's a guy who's not from Sweden, but very close by.
Yeah, he's Danish, and he's been with me for 4 years now, and he's a great hand in my barn.
You know, let's skip ahead just a little bit. You know, you worked for Jimmy Tacker for many years, and we'll get to that in a moment. But, you know, you were a right-hand man to Jimmy for a long time. Now, Casper is your right-hand man. How valuable an asset is Casper to you?
Oh, he's a big help to me in the everyday work in the barn, hands-on. It's me and him, and we do everything. And he's also a very talented driver that helps me because I don't drive myself. So with qualifying and starting out horses, and some horses he drive their whole career, you know. So it's very good help for me to have Casper in my barn.
Yeah, we're going to see him driving tonight as well, won't we?
Last night.
Right.
Yeah, last night.
Like he'll drive the trotters, not the pacers.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
sometimes, but mostly trotters, young trotters. He's very good with.
All right, we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. Let's get a little background on you with a graphic I call Per for the course. And of course, we're talking about the young life of Per Engblom. Grew up in Mantorp, Sweden. What kind of an existence was that? Was it a nice little town, big town?
It's a very little town, but you know, they got two racetracks, one for cars and one for horses, and that's what life is about over there.
Now, obviously, the Meadowlands is a pretty big deal here in the States. How big was the Mantorp racetrack?
I would say it's a medium racetrack, like I would say it's a B track, but not a C track, definitely.
Okay, so it was a middle-of-the-road type of track,
Yeah.
and certainly a good place to kind of get your feet wet in the business.
Oh, for sure.
So, all right, so you grew up in Mantorp, you began your career at that track, and you arrived in the United States at the age of 19, so that's about 23 years ago. Was there a big culture shock when you came over from Sweden?
Oh, for sure, but back then we had, there was a lot of Europeans that worked here. When I came and worked for Jimmy, we had other barns with the Continental Farms. We had the Sweden Stable Per Eriksson. It was like a European community a little bit, and it was a good, easy transition for us.
All right, so you worked for Jimmy Tacker. We know that Jimmy, if not the greatest trainer of all time, certainly one of them. How did you know Jimmy and then go to work for him?
Well, we come from the same place, Mantorp, Sweden, and my family knew his family, my dad knew him, and my sister was working there, so I got my foot in the door, and I was going to stay a year, and I'm still here.
Now, all right, so you did work for Jimmy, but going back 10 years or so, you were the boss. You operated large stables in both Sweden and Italy. How is it being the boss at such a young age?
Well, I went home after 5 years to get my education. You got to go in school and be educated to get a Swedish trainer's license, and I ended up being a private trainer for a good stable, and then I went to Italy for a little bit, and I went back to Sweden to have my private barn, and it worked out okay, but I still went back.
What about the move to Italy? I mean, that sounds like a pretty substantial move.
Yeah, it was. I was young, and I got a good offer, and I said, you know what, let's take a shot.
So, all right, so let's talk about some horses that you've had in recent history that have done exceedingly well, and a horse that you told me the other day when we were talking. We got to talk about Beads, and let's talk about Beads, who was nothing short of dynamite in winning the Hamiltonian Maturity last year. Tell me what you're thinking coming through the stretch.
Well, you know, it was a shitty night. It was raining, and we had a shitty post, and it was just it was a tough race. But Dave left with him, and he got in there, and I know that he trots to the wire. That's for sure.
He had a wicked turn of speed, this horse, but I'm sure that sometimes he drove you crazy because sometimes he'd go off stride.
Yeah, for sure. It was. We only saw half of what he could, but what he could was pretty good.
Now, where is Beads now?
He's sold to Norway, and he's going to race in the European Grand Circuit now.
All right, so there's no thought of him going to the stud farm just yet.
He is probably going to end up there in Europe, but probably a year or two down the line.
Is he the type of horse that you see as being very competitive on the European circuit?
I think so, especially if he stays at it, he'll be competitive.
Another horse that merits mentioning is Westland Quest. Now, I didn't know until doing some research for this interview that when she won the Tom Aldrich at Northfield last year in 1:50.4, she became the fastest trotter ever on a half-mile track. Did you know it at the time?
Well, I kind of thought it was the world record for mares, but then when we found out it was the world record for a half-mile track, that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of nice to have a fastest horse of all time.
Yeah.
How about Sermon, another horse that I know you're high on? Let's take a look at Sermon here. He's winning at the Meadowlands last season, his first of 4 straight wins. Tell me what you're thinking coming through the stretch.
Yeah, he's a horse that we had. We broke him, started out in my barn, and he was also a headache in the beginning, but after he became a gelding, and time helped him, and he just turned into a super nice horse at 3 and 4, and he's coming back great now at 5.
He didn't finish the season quite as well as I'm sure that you had hoped. What are the things now on a comeback trail that make you think that he's going to have a big year at 5?
Well, I was actually happy with the way he finished the season. He was 4th in the British Crown, 4th in the TVG final, but he qualified today and won his qualifier in 53, and I think he's ready to do some good this year.
The winner take it all is another horse that you're hoping for big things from, but he only had 6 starts as a 2-year-old. Where is he at right now in his development?
He trained a mile here today in 57.
Right.
He's still not really ready for qualifying, but in a couple of weeks we'll qualify him, and I think he's a horse that's going to be a earner at least in the big 3-year-old dances this year.
Is he a horse who's staked everything?
Yes.
Including the Hamiltonian?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe we'll look for him on the first Saturday in August.
I hope so.
A horse in your barn who raced last night and finished second. But we're going to look at Epos Oostervang winning last week. Epos Oostervang won in game fashion on the front end. He's a 6-year-old with only 43 career starts. What kind of horse can he be?
Well, he's in the lower classes now, and I think he's going to work his way up a little bit. But he's a game horse, and he's going to be a solid horse that's going to win races and finish top 3 almost all the time. And that's the kind of horses we need in the barn.
All right, now finally, you have 2 horses in tonight. As always in the first, we'll start the night. But wait, this is a pacer. I thought you guys from Sweden, all you had were trotters. What gives?
No, Jimmy had a lot of pacers when I worked there, and it's great. A good horse is a good horse.
Now, as always, to me, is a very good horse, racing some real good ones tonight. 1-800 Steinham's Beach. It's a pretty tough spot.
Yeah, it is. It is. But, it was his comeback race last week, and he finished up okay, and I think he's going to be a little bit sharper tonight. I think he can hit the board tonight too.
2 starts ago, another pacer landed in your barn, Rockin' Speed. He comes from off the pace to win at 50-1. Of course, he had a lot of fans that night. Can he go tonight with the likes of De Los Cielos Deo, Anna Afrit, and Fabricio?
Yeah, I'm sure he can go with them, but our post position is not great, so unfortunately we're probably going to sit a little bit far back, and it's going to be tough from there, but they won't leave him anyway.
Well, Per, I told you that time was going to fly by. Thanks to Per Engblom for being with us. It's time for you to get to work out there. And after a 60-second timeout, Dave Brower's going to sit right there in that chair, and he and I will talk about tonight's featured action. Thanks so much, Per.
Thank you.